Welcome to Happy on Purpose with Janess Pearson. Real conversations with the people behind the businesses, the projects, and the good things happening in the Okanagan.
Today I'm joined by MandiEm. Mandi is a 6-time published author, podcaster. She has a BA in psychology and creator of Healingforhotmesses. And that's a community built for people who don't quite fit the polished version of self-help and wellness. Mandi is also the voice you hear every other week after Happy on Purpose here on Valley FM 97.9. Her show is called Uncanny Dally, and if you haven't heard it, you need to tune in. It's pretty cool. Through humor, shadow work, creativity, and what she calls feral self-care, she encourages people to stop trying to become someone else and start becoming more themselves. I am super looking forward to exploring the person behind the brand and the experiences that shaped her life. So thank you so much for being here, Mandi.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is so amazing.
It's going to be great. So you often describe yourself as a chaotic wellness witch. But before any of those labels existed, who was Mandi growing up?
Oh my goodness. So it's crazy because the person I am right now is like leaps and bounds different than how I grew up. Everything I am now is like a love letter to my childhood self. So I grew up as the only child of a teenage single mother. And I was a weird kid. I, didn't have what all the other kids had. I had very niche, strange interests. And I feel like that strange child to adult witch pipeline is like so real.
Yes.
So, the person that I used to be was really, I felt very othered and very insecure, very anxious. And I felt really lost for a lot of my life trying to figure out who I was, which is kind of why I embark on the work that I do now, is because I know what it feels like to feel alienated. And the crazy thing is I think a lot of people feel that. So it's kind of a universal thing that makes us feel like we're different.
Yeah, it's interesting because even the bullies don't feel great.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's just everybody's trying to meet their inner needs of being seen and heard.
Yes.
And some of them are just really destructive.
1000%.
Yeah. So you've written openly about feeling like you were sometimes too much. And that is such, maybe more for women than men, but the too much thing is major and not enough at the same time. So how did those experiences shape the person you became? Expanding on what you just said.
Yeah, I think it's just that permission to be yourself. It's like, this is something that I feel like a lot of us, particularly women, I can't speak to the male experience and I'm sure there's overlap, but there seems to be this right and wrong way for women to behave and carry themselves and dress and act and do all of these things. And then you add age into the equation and, status or job into the equation. And it feels like we just wear all of these crazy masks. And so for me, it was really about unmasking and like recognizing just because someone says you're too much doesn't mean you're too much. And just because you feel like you're not enough, like who created that benchmark and where did that come from and why are you now incorporating it as part of your internal structure of something you have to measure up to?
Yeah. How does that become our sense of self?
Yeah. And
is like what other people have put on us.
Totally. And it's crazy because, if you feel like you're too much and not enough, it's crazy that those two things can coexist inside of a person. But then it's like, okay, at what point are you ever just okay? And that's like sometimes a lifelong process to try and find.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not even going to guess on your age because age seems so strange to me right now. But I feel like when you get into that 35 to 40 though, if you haven't started thinking about it, some more in their 20s, into their 30s, by the time you get to that perimenopausal point, everything is like, who the heck am I? Yes. And what is not serving me anymore? And why did I believe all these things?
All of that, because so I'm going to be 43 this year.
Holy,
and so great. It's like one of these things that, partly because of the fact that I struggled with mental illness and I struggled with like undiagnosed neurodivergence and like all of these different things, it got to a place where I kept getting older and I kept still feeling like I didn't know who I was.
Yes, so, maybe even more so, don't you think?
Totally.
Because I think the more we start just trying to figure ourselves out, we're outsourcing that. We're asking everybody else, who am I? Yes. What should I be learning from you? Another certification, another expert, another whatever. And every time you try on a new coat, a new jacket, a new suit, costume, and then you're like, flip, this only worked for a while, you know? Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
That struggle is so real.
So real. I can say from my private practice and being a counselor,
Yeah.
that worked predominantly with women
Yeah.
in that age bracket. It was like a revolving door of that.
Yes.
And then a lot of the times they would say, well, I've literally read all the books. These are high achieving, high functioning, extremely successful women. And they're like, but I keep going to the conferences. I keep going to, I've got the books, you know, and it's like, well, now you've just added another label.
Yes.
So now you're insecurely attached, adopted, neurodivergent, whatever. And they all are clues, but I just don't think, I think we just try them on. Yes. We don't know how to even break them down and decide which ones just don't fit.
Yes. And so like for me, it's all about the self beneath the shoulds, because being somebody that struggled so much with my mental health, that became, so a lot of what I do is identity work and narrative magic and things like that. And the thing is, these stories become the framework to which we examine our entire reality. And that really taints how we perceive things and how we communicate things on the outside. And that changes how people relate to us, and it becomes this like crazy cycle. And like you're saying, I feel like in our culture, it's so normalized to like, I'm gonna read a bunch of books to figure it out. And I'm gonna take a bunch of classes and I'm gonna do a bunch of things. And it's like, how about just take all that stuff away and then take all of that stuff away and figure out, like, sit in silence. Like, who are you? Like, what are the things you want? Is your life full of things that you didn't actually want, that you chased because you thought you should have them? Like, and it requires a lot of, again, it's a weird word, but deprogramming yourself 100%. From expectations and going, is this desire mine? Because that's another thing too, is it can take a long time to work towards something. And sometimes by the time we're there, it's like, well, like that version of me that wanted this is gone, so now what? And I feel like that now what feeling is what a lot of us are left with.
Totally. Completely. I love, we sort of touched on this before. I mean, a lot of people say these things, but if you don't find the person that fits your jam, right? Which again requires an unpacking. Yes. Because what you said, and I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it was so brilliant, is we'll go in, we'll do these things, and then we'll just try to become this thing, this other new thing. Yes. This healed person, right? And so then we're like, why can we not find our tribe? Why can we not find our people? Why are we struggling so much? It's because that's not even who you are. No. You've decided to be that thing because somebody told you to be that thing. Yes. And then you end up with an existential crisis. Yes. And we have to unpack it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of my books is called Shadow Work for Hot Messes. I write everything to be fun and accessible. And in there, I have a chapter on healing hangovers, because it feels like that becomes, like, I got to hydrate every day and I got to work out and I got to make sure that I look like this and do this and like all of these things. And healing can have the same thing where it's like striving. The energy of striving is not how you feel whole, and it's not how you accomplish things. So you have to balance doing the work and balance healing and balance all of that inner work with being and playing and having fun. And that's where I come in, because it's like, we can only get so far with logic and knowledge, because then we get in a situation where we've dug up all our demons and we're like, cool, so I have all these problems, now what? And that's when we start searching, like you're saying, outsourcing your authority to anything outside yourself that can like fix it, when it's not about fixing at all. It's about integrating and accepting and recognizing that, you know, the human experience is a temporary, messy, chaotic one, and that gets to be okay. Yeah.
Wayne Dyer used to say, the human experience is a critical, oh God, I'm gonna mess it up. But anyways, you're basically here just to die.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what, right? Like it's a no brain. I've got menopause brain. Anyways, so that's cool. Thank you for that. A lot of wellness culture feels polished and perfect. You seem to be intentionally moving in the opposite direction. What made you reject that model?
I think it's that I didn't see myself reflected in it. And so how far are you going to go on your journey if, again, it feels aspirational? So I really have a full body recoil reaction to the commodification and the aspirational side of like spirituality and wellness, where it feels again like another thing you have to measure up to. And so then it's like, oh, if I'm not doing my spiritual practice, or if I'm not healing enough, or I'm not having the results I want, then it becomes this thing that you feel more guilt about, when it's like, no, this is supposed to be your escape hatch from the BS. Like, this is supposed to be where you can reconnect and like get to a different space where that feels better. So if it becomes another thing where you're like, well, I'm not in a, rose gold dress on a beach in Tulum. Like, I just feel like there's this huge gap between us people and then what we're seeing, because it's commodified. And so we go, well, I don't look like that, so what am I doing wrong? Or I'm not getting those results, so what am I doing wrong? And it's like, you are not doing anything wrong. That's like the prevailing thing. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here nodding because I want to just like sit and have banter back and forth, but I wanted to make sure that this is all about you. The first time I heard you speak was at the most recent conference, and it was interesting to me. If you don't mind me sharing, I can edit this out if you don't. But having conversations prior about coming into the radio station, whatever, and you saying like, I had to prepare, and I went and did like Toastmasters, and I'm so worried. And then I see you, and I'm like, you're born for this. Like, you are born for this. I think because you're so unapologetically who you are. Yeah. And there is something super alluring about that. I think we're craving it in society.
Well, I feel like that's what everybody wants, is to be free. And it requires like a level of true deep understanding that the rules and the benchmarks and the whatever is fake. It's like, we all can say that and do that, but it takes another level altogether to stand in your energy. So that's the energetic side, to be able to have people attack you, to have people upset with you, to have people have different of opinions, and understanding that like belief in reality to some degree is subjective. And so everyone can be right at the same time. It's just how you're approaching it and where you're at. And the funny thing about that conference is I did all this preparation and I had like 43 cue cards, and I ended up just getting rid of them and going freestyle, because I realized, I'm like, well, number one, that's counter to what I'm trying to transmit. And I do believe the energy of which you create something is how it's received. But number two, it's like, you got to allow the magic of authenticity to fill the room sometimes. So that means like not preparing, being okay with things being messy. And I think the room got what it needed. So it was really a cool experience.
Absolutely. I loved it when you were just like, I've got my like safety cue cards or whatever. But then I'm like, you're not even looking at them, man. I think eventually you just kind of put them down. I was like, you just go. Because what that tells me is you have fully embodied what you are saying. Yeah. It is one thing to put all your message into ChatGPT or Claude, and then it just tells you what you're going to be. Another way of adding, a layer of disconnect. Yeah. You just were up there and you said all the things, and you hit your marks. I think because you had practiced. I mean, let's say, you can't just go up there and be rogue. You hit everything. It was perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually it was a highlight for me in that conference.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, which is funny because I'm 57 and I've been in this industry since I was 23. Mm-hmm. So it's rare when I go, oh, I haven't heard it like that before. So I think you are the bomb.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't see a lot of people doing it like me. And it is hard to communicate what you do, because I feel like people kind of like the air of... they like the aspiration a little bit. Like, we like the escapism to some degree, to think that there's a way out, when it's like, I find personally that spirituality and self-connection and all of these things is actually very kind of, it's not, it's very mundane in a lot of ways. It's like taking the time, and it's really getting to like audit your belief system. And it really is going, where is this belief coming from? Where is this coming from? Like, does this make sense? Do I even believe this? So
you had a video out recently, and it was something about how sometimes spirituality is boring. Yeah. And you're like, did this thing, and I sent it to like everybody I know, because when you're an extrovert and sort of an upbeat, sort of whatever personality, and then all of a sudden you say, yeah, but I'm deeply spiritual. Yeah. They're expecting you to You know, oh, I can't do yoga for love nor money. Never got into meditation, mindfulness all day long, curiosity, yes.
Totally.
But I would still say I'm a spiritual person.
Yes.
But I can't do it like that.
No.
If I have to sit in one more quiet circle, I'm going to literally put forks in my eyes.
That's literally how I feel too, because, and no offense to that, that's
none.
a very thriving industry. But to me, I felt unrepresented, you know, because I realized that it was through the shadow and through acceptance and through deconditioning. That was what moved the needle for me when like a lot of all other things did not. And I thought, well, surely there's got to be more people at home covered in Cheeto crumbs that want to see themselves represented in this space.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. And you said it in the prior portion to leading up to this, is it's not that you're saying there's anything wrong with this quiet sitting, incense, all of that. Sometimes we need that.
Absolutely.
I love going to all of it when it calls me.
Yes.
But when it's not your jam, then are you now not included?
Yes.
That's what I hear is you're like, no, it's all that, but we're just going to put a totally different spin on it.
Yes.
And then it brings more people in because the information is valuable. It's not that self-help is not real or not good. It's just when you don't really feel it, right? Then you're not going to be attracted to it. And then you stay in the cycle of expert, going to look for all the experts. For those of you that are just tuning in, I'm here with MandiEm. She's an author and founder of Healingforhotmesses. We're talking about healing, authenticity, and why being human may matter more than being polished. I love it. Okay, so you do a lot of work around shadow work, and I feel like that's something that's sort of making a comeback. It's kind of but for someone hearing that term for the first time, what does it actually mean in everyday life for you?
So shadow work is ultimately about making the unconscious conscious, because when we say we want something, quite often our subconscious belief system is in direct opposition to what we claim to want, and then we wonder why it's always right outside of our grasp. So some people struggle with feeling that romantic partners are unsafe, or that all, XYZ insert gender here suck. And then they wonder why they have that experience over and over again. And it's because there's not a level of psychic openness there. And that's not to be victim blaming. It's more in that you see the world you believe exists, right? So do you see a positive world or a hostile world? And both things can be true at the same time, but we are naturally inclined to have a negativity bias. So we have to bring a little bit of counterbalance there. So shadow work, there was the quote by Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And this is why people will they'll play the same role in every relationship they get into. They'll sometimes meet the same person in a million different bodies, and they keep having those different recurring patterns. And so when you understand what your subconscious beliefs are, because often they're not things we consciously believe in the slightest. But when you have an encounter where you realize that, once you know that, it can change how you approach the topic and the conversation and how you move through the world with that understanding. So it's not about fixing. It's not about like healing the shadow. It's not about any of that. It's about understanding it, encountering it, connecting with it, and then integrating it into a way of like, how is this manifesting in my life and what can I do with that? And just to put that a little bit further is that you don't have to even get it right 100% of the time. If you recognize like I behave in this way because of XYZ thing, and you make attempts to shift the way that you respond in those situations, it can feel like a failure again if we slip back. But the truth is if you need to take 100 steps somewhere and you take 5 steps forward, 3 steps back, you're still further ahead than where you got to. So it's that understanding that really helps us to recognize what we are and are not open to, and how that taints how we view the world, and then taking that and incorporating it into our conscious awareness so that we have more self-understanding and ultimately more positive experiences in life.
Mm-hmm. Our demographic might be a little older, but they might get the idea of if, say, Mother Teresa and like some serial killer are walking down the very same 2 blocks.
Yes.
And at the end, you ask them what they saw.
Yes.
They're going to say very different things.
Totally.
And I've always thought about it. Not that's extreme because, that's sort of the good versus evil. But I think we do see it we see it through all the lenses of all the things that we have decided to carry in our lives over and over and over.
Have you had one of those experiences where you're with your spouse or something like that, where it's like you have one interaction, you come away from it, and you're like, for me, I'm always like, was that person mad at me? And my husband would be like, I would never in a million years have ever picked up on that. And it's like the truth might be somewhere in the middle of us, but that just goes to show that like everything goes through our field, and we decide to assign differential meaning to it. And it's not, and we call that reality, but it's not necessarily reality.
It's our reality in that small moment of time. Because then add, are you tired? Are you hangry?
Yes.
Are you, whatever. And then we're going to see it. But it's so funny in couples, any gender, any, identity, when we dig our heels in on something, and then you got to go back the next day, and the heart, and how often do we go, you know what? That thing that I was like ready to die on the hill for, I don't actually feel that way. It's like, okay, so many of it. Do you think many of us are carrying versions of ourselves that were created to belong rather than to be authentic? So we've kind of touched on that, but I just think that's so juicy that I'd love to just have a little more conversation around it.
Yeah, I mean, human beings naturally, through evolution, we are meant to be social creatures, and we're meant to want belonging, and we're meant to seek belonging and be received well by others. And that actually is very helpful, and it's adaptive, and it's great, and it's wonderful until it's not. And so I think that depending on the context you're in, that can make a big difference. Are you trying to fit in with a group of people that you don't actually feel aligned with? That's a big thing. Trying to seek approval just for the sake of validation, again, a truly adaptive thing that can be helpful, but like not always, right? Until it's not. And so I do think that, like, I think a lot of us, I think it's a lifelong process too. Like, I don't think anyone has it all figured out and they're stripped down from deprogrammed, like, I've got it all figured out. No, I think it's a thing where it's constantly a process of really, auditing your beliefs in any given moment and being like, wait a second, like, how do I feel about this? Like, because we also naturally get swept up into group behavior, and we get naturally swept up into group think, and our consciousness is very easily hijacked by all sorts of different things. And so, I think it's a big issue. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a problem, because it is something that's normal and natural, but it can cause problematic side effects in our life, and it's particularly in our self-expression.
I think for me, the way I think of it, and this has only just been recently doing some work on things that I'm working on, even myself, is that I think, the analogy of we have this backpack full of boulders or whatever that we're carrying. I don't think you ever empty it out. I think you swap them out sometimes. Some of the big ones get put down, maybe just a smaller one. But the load of living itself, being born and living on earth is a terminal condition.
Yes.
Right? Finally, it comes to me. All my 57-year-old listeners will totally get that brain fog. But so when you're talking about that, that's what I think of. It's not, none of them are right, none of them are wrong. They've served. But it's when we don't take them out every once in a while going, does this really actually still serve me? And then maybe we put it down and make room for another one. I don't know. This whole world thing is just an experiment on however many days we get here. So who wrote the script? Because if you live in North America, then you go to, say, I don't know, I won't say Australia, but somewhere that's totally, let's just say Africa. These rules might not fit there anymore. Go live with a nomadic tribe and see how you're, pushing through everything and success orientation works. Like, no, you'll be outed because you can't go and hunt and gather. Anyways, I just went off on a tangent. But your work often gives people permission to be messy. What is the difference between accepting ourselves and simply staying stuck?
Oh, that's a super good question. So the reason why I like to lean into that in my work is not only so that people feel represented and understand that I'm a safe place for, not having something that you have to live up to, also because of that shadow thing of like when you kind of recognize that those shadows are often strengths, and those things that make you feel messy and make you feel, I spent a lot of my life feeling quote unquote broken. When you recognize those can be your greatest asset and your greatest strength, if you just reorient yourself to the problem, which is a mindset issue, that actually gets to be really freeing and really liberating. Now, in terms of staying stuck, that's an interesting one because I feel like stuckness is a state of mind to some degree, depending on how you're feeling. Now, there's obviously very real things in our lives that, we might feel physically stuck in a situation we're in or something like that. But again, I mean, particularly as somebody who is interested in consciousness and chaos magic, which is really about belief, using belief as a tool. It's less about deity work. It's less about that kind of what you would think of as the more woo spiritual things. And it's more looking at if your belief was a portal that could take you into a different timeline or a different world, like where would that be taking you? So stuckness is something where you can reframe it in any given moment, right? And so there is a line between, letting yourself wallow. I always say, throw yourself a pity party, but give yourself a curfew, because at a certain point you have to put a boot up your butt to move.
I love it. Yeah. Exactly.
Right? I mean, but at certain times you need both things. It can be really problematic when you look at advice out there, especially in online culture where everything's in quick snippets and it's like rest, but also like get out and get it. It's like both of those things are true, and your job is really to know what is going to be true for you in that given moment, what you need, and you need self-trust and self-understanding for that. So that's probably a convoluted way to answer that question, but there's so many layers to it. There's many times I felt stuck and I wasn't actually stuck. I was stuck in my how I was orienting to the problem. And once I got out of that, usually you'll find that what you're seeing in the material world, if you energetically shift, that will also shift, whether it's through your awareness or whether it's through tangible outcomes. That seems to be a thing that happens.
Yeah. Can you, without obviously using names, but can you think of a client or some, do you call them clients? What would you call the people
I
you work
hate that
with?
word.
I know, as soon as you said it, I was like,
but that's the word though.
I guess. Well, people that you work with?
Yeah.
People you hang out and they pay you to hang out with you?
Yeah.
I don't know, like whatever. Is there somebody that sticks out in your mind that you can really see how this shifted and that they've come back and said, here's what happened? And do you know can you walk us through sort of how that happened for them?
Yeah, so I see it again and again. So I do like a few different, I do like workshops and things with people. But then when it comes to one-to-one work or like group works, I usually do confidence work with people or authenticity work with people, which can be either a person trying to shift out of the identity they're feeling trapped in this given moment. But I also work with creatives who are wanting to show up more authentically for their brand or business or anything like that. And something I see a lot with people is that they have this fear of being judged by others. And that's also in confidence as well, is like the part of us that sees someone walking down the street and we're like, why are they wearing that? They're too old to be wearing that, or they're too whatever to be doing this. We're actually fighting that part of ourselves. We are not fighting the outside world, because it doesn't matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody in the outside world that's going to come and limit you and put their crap on you and all of that. The problem is when you participate in that and you become that as well. And so what happens is there's one person I'm thinking of in particular, they really, really, really wanted to be confident, but they didn't feel safe being confident because obviously growing up, it was like, you're too much. They had some diagnoses that really factored into the equation of their story throughout life was that they were always being othered by other people. And it was crazy because we did some work on belief, and we were like, where did you get those beliefs from? Do you believe those beliefs, or did you just adopt them on your subconscious and not think about it? And we did energetic work too of practice walking into a room and not shrinking. It's very hard if you're a person who struggles with confidence and insecurity to be able to walk in a room and not do, there's two kinds of energies. There's the where you restrict, and you physically will cover your safe areas and restrict. You see it when people speak and stuff too. And then there's expansive energy where you're actually have your head up high And that urge to restrict is often in a lot of people I work with, not just one example. It seems to be this energetic acquiescence to other people to be like, I'm not a threat. So you don't need to worry about me. I'm not going to be too much. I'm not going to steal the spotlight. I'm not going to do anything like that. And just having practice leaning into like when you felt confident, because most people, they'll say, oh, I don't even remember when I felt like that. Most people have an example they can think of. That's how they know the lack, is because they can compare it on some level. And so like basically being able to walk into a room and like hold your head high and like be who you are, even if people don't like you. Being someone who works online, I get canceled a lot for saying or doing the wrong thing, but there's always going to be someone that says you should or shouldn't say or do this or that, that you shouldn't dress like that, that you shouldn't look like this, that you shouldn't speak like this. I get that a lot. I've published 6 books. People say I'm unintelligent because I swear, and I'm like, well, okay.
Look at Gary Vee. He seems to be doing just fine.
Yeah. So it's like, because their framework of belief is that that's the program in their reality, that's what that means. Whereas in my reality, it's different. And I don't agree to living under somebody else's program. So it's kind of just like that.
Do you have any French blood in you? Do you know?
I don't think so.
I just
Maybe.
interviewed on Tuesday Robin Martin of the Bluebird Healing,
Oh,
and
okay.
he is French, and he said the same thing. Okay, so we can't swear.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Because it's part of his culture, like it's part of the language, you know. And I'm like, oh, that's so fascinating. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. You use a lot of words. One of them came to mind was audit. You said when you do an audit, and I thought, oh, that's so good, because it's not that you're looking for flaws, you're just looking for incongruencies is sort of what I'm hearing.
Totally.
Yeah. And so after the person you're thinking of, so they did your workshops, how many, like, were they in a group setting?
They were in a 6-session package. Okay. And it's crazy because by session 2, usually that will pop. Yeah. Because getting to the root of that belief and kind of giving some, whether it's ritual, whether it's actual, like, here's some shadow work prompts for you, whether it's actual, like, no, this is your assignment. Like, I've given people assignments before. Go out and join a group, go out and do a hobby, like whatever that person needs to kind of get where they need to go. It's like, usually I do it bi-weekly. So every second week we do for 3 months. So that's 6 sessions. But usually by session 1 or 2, something will crack. And then after that, it's just a matter of like reps, like putting in the reps, like anything. Keep it moving, keep it going, expand, get a little bigger, expand a little more. Maybe this week you don't feel like it, so you pull back and you do different kind of work. It's really difficult because depending on who I work with, I have to kind of adapt, you know? Yeah. I just finished working with someone who is a creative, and they on their first session, we were talking about, they were worried about getting canceled in their industry for liking something that is very controversial right now. And my friends won't like me anymore. And I really was like, what exactly are you afraid of? What are you afraid? And it was like, if they're your friends and this is something you're passionate about, they don't like you. And a lot of people don't want to face that. They value the way they're looking at it more than they value where you're coming from if they're not willing to have a conversation. A lot of people don't want to face that. But session 1, we did that. Then he started writing about this thing he was really passionate about. And everything popped off for him. And it was because he had a creative block, because he wasn't allowing himself to live by his own framework and his own passion and his own rules. So it can happen fast. That's the thing. Like, I think we think doing the work is like doing the work, and it's gotta, and it is on some level, but also like you get to decide and then keep deciding. That's also a thing.
Yeah, you have the autonomy to make these choices.
Yeah.
Also, what I was thinking of is the way it sounds like you work, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is so you can do the 6-week thing. Something really awesome might happen in those first 2 weeks because it's exciting and you all of a sudden are uncovering something. Then it's like, oh, I gotta go join a group.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta talk to my friends. Like, and so when they come to say session 4, and they've rolled back, like you said, 5 steps forward, maybe 3 steps back.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Usually it gets back to like, why are you here? What do you want? And do you actually want it? Because that's another thing. You either want something or you don't. And like, I know there's a lot of different things. I had executive dysfunction was one of my excuses. Being super mentally ill was one of my excuses. Not having time. You know, like finding out that I had neurodivergence. Like I had a million different reasons. But at the end of the day, there's a million things we are doing, we are chasing because we have the capacity and we want to. And sometimes the pain of the problem, and this is a shadow work thing, and this is the most uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the pain of the problem has not reached the threshold where we are fixing it yet. And that's one of the hardest things in shadow work to be able to face, is going, what part of you is addicted to the struggle? What part of you misses the freedom of not having to push or try or work? Which is why I think the work should be kind of playful, and it should be fun and always self-accepting. Yeah. Because otherwise it will feel like pushing, and it shouldn't. Pushing is not an energy that gets you very much that's helpful at all.
It gets you sick, actually.
It gets you very sick.
It gets you very sick. What came to my mind, and again, like I say, always correct me when I'm wrong, because I'm just super curious about the way that you do this work, because I think somebody is listening that is going to go, finally someone I could trust to like come and talk to. So when you were talking about how you had like neurodivergent, mental health, and I know you used the word excuse. I don't feel like you use it that way all the time in your work.
No.
Because for me, I think the neurodivergence is the gift.
Yes.
I think sometimes the being able to understand where your depression came from.
Yes.
And I've battled with this again, like the counseling, or even stepping out of the rules of, professional counseling, whatever, which I had never liked, is that, yes, it served you, but not, the analogy I would use is not every mole is a tumor. Yeah. It's not cancerous. Yes. Just because someone looked at it and said that has potential for being cancer. So maybe you are a little depressed. Depression is a feeling at times too. Yes. You can stay in that, but you're not clinically diagnosed. Maybe you are. And if you are, you probably need like some other type of journey. Yeah. But it's okay to be all those things. Totally. I think there's such good hidden little gems in those things.
Oh, for sure. They can be like our greatest teachers, for sure. And like for me, I
just got so goosebumpy.
I was so, when I was young, I mean, I was put in psych wards. They could never find meds. I had treatment-resistant depression. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't want people to think I'm anti-meds, which I'm not. I'm anti-meds for me because I never actually had a positive experience. Yep. And when you are, there's not really a lot for you. I think the model often is like, just take some meds and please like go away.
Well, because the system is so bogged down, right? We're just going to buy you 2 years so we can get you in to see somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like for me, it was really trying to find my own way and my own path out of it. But at that point in my life, if I doing the shadow work, hard truth, I was okay with absolving myself of responsibility for a lot of my life. And that's not a fun realization to come to later on. But in hindsight, if I look at it, I'm like, okay, so other people made my decisions for me. Expectations on me were crazy low. And and I'm not saying that's true for everyone. For me, this was true. Mm-hmm. And until I accepted that and I started seeing things differently, that's what helped me heal and what helped me grow and what informs the way that I approach things, because I know that sometimes it's that need for safety. Because for me, that was how I felt safe. It wasn't like, oh, I just was malingering and all of that. Mm-hmm. It was, no, I needed to feel safe and protected, and I didn't trust myself to do anything in life. So it was easier for me to wallow in this place. Now, I wasn't living in integrity with what I wanted to have in my life. I wasn't living in integrity with how I wanted to feel.
Yeah,
so for me, that was it. Recognizing that was, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, super clear, neither one of us are saying that there is no such thing as mental illness.
Absolutely
Neither
not.
One of us are here to say, oh, it's just an excuse, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're at a place of stability and you're okay enough to come and take and look at some of these other things, be brave enough to do it. And don't expect that, one little, like, okay, I want to work on confidence, and so I'm going to go and do this thing, and then you don't do all the homework. That is not a flippin' failure.
No.
Because you have stretched the elastic.
Yes.
It never goes back to
Never.
the same shape. So just be brave and just come and give it a go, right?
Yeah, because sometimes our mental health stuff needs for us to really get a lot of help and a lot of support and withdraw our energy. But sometimes, other times, it actually requires us to get outside of our comfort zone and shake things up so that we can prove to ourselves that we're doing different things and we're shaking our life up and it doesn't feel stale.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, well, can you even believe it? Like, here we are. so ridiculous.
I'm a talker.
No, I love it. I'm so curious. Like so many of the things you say, not only am I agreeing, but I think you just have such a cool way of saying it that other people may have heard it before. And I think the worst thing people can do is go, "Oh, I've heard that before." Great, you heard it. What did you do about it?
Yes.
You know, so and then sometimes, well, I don't want to sit in a counselor's office in the dark and woe is me. Great, awesome. We'll go hang out with Mandi and go get your hot mess on and, you know, have some fun. So that's what I love. I love it when somebody shows up with the good introspective work that is going to help people move their lives, even if it's just a smidgen. And you're touching a population that, like you said at the very beginning, might not feel like they fit in that realm.
Yeah.
Right. And anyway, you know, I think you're awesome.
Same.
So when you strip away the books, the brand, the podcast, and all the things you do, what do you hope people experience when they're around you? And I'm going to just add, just not in your work, just in your life. What do you hope that people experience when they're around you in your everyday movement throughout Vernon, British Columbia?
I try to, I'm not a calm, gentle energy person. And so I like for people to feel empowered but like lit up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really want my very existence to be a fire lit under your butt to show you that, yes, it is possible. I was a high school dropout and I got a degree. Like I went through a lot of trauma and things and I ended up being okay. And like, I was very insecure and now I'm super public and I've published 6 books. So I'm like, whatever story it is, there's things on the other side of it. So I guess that would be it, is I just want people to feel empowered. Like whatever limitation you have, I'm definitely 100% the guy that's going to be like, but maybe not. Like maybe it's going to be amazing. Like you never know. I'm Delulu the full way through.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Well, Mandi, thank you so much for joining me today. I know it was crazy, chaotic to get you here, which actually fits, right?
Yeah.
It's chaotic magic.
I'm already almost home.
Yeah. You've gone down and around. Thank you for joining me and bringing your honesty, your humor, and your refreshingly human perspective to the conversation. Thank you, Mandi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. You can find more Happy on Purpose conversations on YouTube.